to undermine me, this will be your fate. He then posted several intimidating photos. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh. Chen Zhenghao's ruthless tactics were no doubt why he had been so successful in society before the apocalypse. However, his ammunition and followers were ultimately limited. They couldn't possibly face off against all the residents of the building. Just then, I was added to a new group chat. Several homeowners were vehemently denouncing Chen Zhenghao's actions in the chat, saying that we all had to unite to resist such a tyrant. Even if he has a gun, he can't stop all of us. But when asked when to take action, a few clever ones suggested that we needed to plan this carefully. After reading these messages, I couldn't help but laugh. The loudest critics were also the most hesitant to take action. They were all just talk. At this point, Uncle Yu, a retired veteran, chimed in the chat. We can't let Chen Zhenghao continue like this. Otherwise, we're all doomed. If you all are scared, I can lead the charge. Let's all rise up together. Uncle Yu's words garnered a lot of support from the homeowners. Some offered to provide weapons. Others suggested tactics, saying Chen Zhenghao was only one man and we could ambush him. Seeing all the support, Uncle Yu continued. Besides the gun, Chen Zhenghao has about 5 or 6 people with him. I alone won't be enough. We need a dozen or so young guys to ensure our safety. Just as everyone was eagerly preparing to volunteer, a woman suddenly spoke up in the chat. Auntie Lin just tricked us out of our supplies. Who knows if Uncle Yu, you won't do the same. If you lead everyone to surrender, what about the rest of us who are old, weak women and children? I absolutely disagree. Hearing this, I really wanted to smack her. This woman was the one who stirred up gender conflicts in the past life. In this post-apocalyptic world, if you can't even trust a retired veteran, who can you trust? Soon, the homeowners were divided into 2 factions. The radical faction thought we should unite against Chen Zhenghao now. The conservative faction suspected Uncle Yu was a spy, saying whoever wants to be the scapegoat can be one. Watching the 2 sides bicker for 2 hours, I couldn't help but sigh. This scene was exactly the same as in my past life. Back then, it was these conservatives who kept passing the buck, resulting in the majority of homeowners being brutally killed by Chen Zhenghao. But what does this have to do with me eating my curry rice with corn, green peppers, tomatoes, and chicken? On the other side, Chen Zhenghao, backed by his gun, was still robbing houses everywhere, not even sparing his own followers. Anyone who dared to resist would be taken away with a single shot from Chen Zhenghao, but he knew it well in his heart, without this gun in his hand. These subordinates might not necessarily obey him. Then he ordered his men to collect all the bodies. Watching this scene from the surveillance, I immediately realized that this guy was planning to use these people as backup food. It seems it's time to find an opportunity to confront this guy. The next morning, the leader of the conservative faction, Lu Tiantian, sent out a cry for help in the WeChat group. Everyone, come save me. Isn't Uncle Yu a veteran? You all should be able to fight them off. As the impact on the door behind her grew more intense, Lu Tiantian grew more anxious and said, I'm in trouble. None of you will be able to escape. But as soon as her words fell, the door behind her was broken open by someone, and then she was dragged out like a dead dog. Her ordeal didn't evoke sympathy. Instead, it drew mockery from the radical faction. Serves you right for being a turtle. Your retribution has come, hasn't it? On the other side, Fang Yuqing and her girlfriends were also very nervous when they saw this scene. If they didn't come up with a plan soon, their turn would come soon. At this moment, Fang Yuqing had a plan. She must spread the news that Zhang Yi, that guy, had hoarded a large amount of supplies, and then unite everyone to take over his house. So, I was quickly added into a group chat of a mutual aid group. I saw Fang Yuqing at me in the group chat and said, Zhang Yi, it's too dangerous for everyone to live separately now. Your door at home is particularly solid. We lack a secure base. I hope you can join our team. And now everyone must unite. If you are alone, you will be dealt with by Chen Zhenghao soon. Seeing the message, I couldn't help but laugh. They want to pull the same stunt as in the previous life. So I replied indifferently, I'm fine. I'm used to living alone in this little broken house of 150 square meters with heating and electricity. Seeing this situation, the group chat immediately exploded. Old Zhang, don't be so short-sighted. Everyone needs to unite now. Fang Yuqing also echoed on the side. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. You can save 7 people now. That would be a 48-story pagoda. And I used to work in a lock company. I can open any lock on the market. So, they all agreed and came to my door to start prying the lock. They even prepared a few umbrellas to prevent cold water. As a result, Brown Hair pried for half a day. Found that he couldn't even budge my lock. I, who was in front of the surveillance, was sneering in my heart. This 5-layer reinforced security door of mine is comparable to the anti-theft level of a bank vault. And you, an ordinary lockpicker, want to pry it open? Then I activated the high-voltage electric defense feature. Brown Hair was shocked to a grimace. Help me, please. However, Brown Hair Man soon fell to the ground, his body emanating a puff of black smoke. This sight stunned Fang Yuqing, who was standing by. The high-voltage electricity had Brown Hair Man's hands still stuck to the door. Witnessing this, I didn't feel any guilt. At this moment, Glasses Man pointed at the door and swore loudly, "Zhang Yi, you damned beast. Come out. We came to talk to you and you just killed someone. Now Lu Tao is dead because of you. Don't you think you owe us an explanation?" Hearing this, I just laughed. "You guys came to pry my door. I don't think there's any need to explain your intentions," I said, shaking my head. I then loaded my crossbow. "Isn't it better to stay alive?" In the next second, an arrow flew out of the small window at the door, hitting Glasses Man's left arm squarely. Seeing this, Zhou Peng hurriedly helped Glasses Man up. They didn't expect me to be so ruthless and quiet, as I had intended to take their lives right off the bat. Just as they had barely moved a few steps away, 2 more arrows flew out of the small window, striking Zhou Peng and another neighbor accurately. Seeing this, Fang Yuqing and the other 2 women started to flee, afraid that they would be the next to get hit if they were a step slower. Once they returned to their lodgings, the 3 men who were hit by the arrows lay on the ground howling in pain. If not treated in time in such extreme cold weather, the wounds would necrotize. Moreover, the arrows were rusty, without antibiotics or other medicines. They could only wait for death slowly. Thinking of this, Glasses Man regretted his actions terribly. At this moment, Zhou Peng's cousin, Wang Min, walked up to Fang Yuqing and slapped her in the face. "It's all your fault, you damn woman. Didn't you say that only Zhang Yi's door is strong? How come there are crossbows? No wonder you were standing so far away just now. Did you know it all along?" Fang Yuqing looked wronged. "I didn't know. When we went there last time, he didn't use them." At this moment, Zhou Peng quickly stepped forward and shielded Fang Yuqing behind him. "Cousin, stop. It's not Fang Yuqing's fault. I can vouch for her." Seeing her cousin evolving from a bootlicker to the bootlicker king, Wang Min felt disappointed. Little did she know that the one who ran the fastest just now was herself. Now, the only thing they could do was to contact Dr. Zhou in the community for help. After a while, Zhou Qir came to Wang Min's house to check the wounds of the injured people. However, after seeing the wounds, she looked surprised. "This is the same as the wound I treated for Qin Zhenghao a while ago. It's also an arrow wound." Then Zhou Qir said that the wounds were too deep. Without professional equipment, the success rate of surgery was less than 20%. Furthermore, the iron arrow was rusty all over. Without antibiotics or similar drugs for treatment, they could only wait for death. Upon hearing this, Wang Min immediately shed 2 lines of clear tears. She and Zhou Peng had grown up together, and their relationship was very deep. She then fell to her knees. "Dr. Zhou, you must find a way to save my cousin." Zhou Qir turned her head and said, "If we rashly pull out the arrows without medication, the consequences will only be worse. I hope you understand." At this moment, Fang Yuqing stepped forward. "I remember a month ago someone delivered a batch of drugs to Zhang Yi's house. There must be plenty of antibiotics and similar drugs. Why don't we ask him for some?" Hearing this, Glasses Man looked excited. "Really? Then you go find Zhang Yi. He caused my injury. He has to take responsibility." However, Wang Min on the side expressed, "We were almost killed by him just now. How could he possibly give us medicine to save our lives?" Hearing this, Fang Yuqing looked unconcerned. "We just wanted to take over his house. We didn't harm him. Besides, we're the ones who got hurt. We're the righteous ones here." Hearing this, Zhou Qir was rendered speechless. "You guys deserve to get shot." Suddenly, Wang Min pointed at Fang Yuqing and said loudly, "Then you'll be in charge of getting the medicine. Zhang Yi once pursued you. You're the most suitable person to handle this." Bootlicker King Zhou Peng also chimed in, "Fang Yuqing will have to trouble you this time. I can only protect you when my arrow wound is healed." Hearing this, Fang Yuqing had no choice but to agree. However, thinking of my attitude, she had no confidence. The only plan now was to try making a phone call. Soon, she dialed my number and said, "Lu Tao and Zhou Peng are dying. Can you help them?" Upon hearing this, I laughed. "So what if they die? Everyone has to die sooner or later. Besides, you don't really think you can survive this snow disaster, do you? The city is blocked by heavy snow, and this building has become an isolated island. Once the existing supplies are used up, if you don't starve to death, you will be killed by Qin Zhenghao." Upon hearing this, Fang Yuqing sobbed tremulously. "Zhang Yi, I know I was wrong. It's all my fault. I let down your true feelings, but I've come to my senses now. Can you forgive me? Zhou Peng and the others were shot by you. If they don't get medicine, they will die from infection." At this point, Wang Min snatched Fang Yuqing's phone. "Zhang Yi, don't be so heartless. Keep some goodwill. You never know when you might need us in the future." Hearing this, I laughed. "Guess why I shot them with rusty arrows? I never intended to meet you again, and how do I know you won't suddenly turn against me?" Upon hearing this, Wang Min hurriedly argued, "How could we? We are good citizens. I cut her off. Good citizens wouldn't try to take over someone else's house. But well, helping you isn't impossible. Given that I have been pining after Fong Yuking for 18 years, I might consider letting her come over alone. Hearing this, Fong Yuking excitedly grabbed the phone. Zhang Yi, brother, I'm willing. From now on, Fong Yuking is yours. Do whatever you want. Her best friend, Lin Caning, also excitedly moved closer. Take me with you. Take me with you. But Fong Yuking slapped away Lin Caning's hand. My brother Zhang Yi only wants me. You should just stay here and behave yourself. As soon as she finished speaking, Wang Min slapped her across the face. You shameless woman. You've caused everyone so much trouble. And now you want to run off. No way. Bootlicker King Zhou Peng also looked shocked. Fong Yuking, how could you do this to me? Didn't you say you hated Zhang Yi the most and wanted to be my woman? Upon hearing this, Fong Yuking immediately started arguing. Is it wrong for me to pursue a better life? If I stay with you, when the supplies run out, we'll all just wait to die. Zhou Peng, isn't loving someone about wanting them to have a happy life? Although you gave me a few bags of supplies, Zhang Yi has a whole Walmart stashed in his house. Hearing this, Bootlicker fell to the ground, defeated in the battle of love, before it even started, and Fong Yuking just turned around and left without a second look. Lin Caning threw her to the ground. Why should you get all the benefits? Wang Min also pointed at Fong Yuking and scolded. You only think about yourself and don't consider everyone else. If we're not doing well, you shouldn't either. Zhou Qirer, who was watching their infighting, was speechless, but she still kindly reminded, the wounds have only been temporarily treated. Without medicine, you all need to be prepared. Upon hearing this, Glasses Man had a sudden idea. I have a way to deal with Zhang Yi. From the video he sent us, it's not hard to see that his house is fully stocked. Now we just need to tell everyone in the building about this. If we can't deal with him, someone else surely can. Then we can get a share of the benefits from the sidelines. Upon hearing this, Fong Yuking panicked. Don't be so shameless. How can I live a sweet life with brother Zhang Yi if you do this? As soon as she finished speaking, Wang Min raised her hand to slap her. You dare to be so brazen, you shameless woman. At the critical moment, Zhou Peng stepped in front of Fong Yuking. Sister, hold on. My love for Fong Yuking is genuine. I will win her over with time. Sooner or later, Fong Yuking will fall in love with me. Then, he confidently looked at Fong Yuking. Don't be afraid. I'm here. This angered Wang Min so much that she almost wanted to slap this bootlicker to death. However, she decided to focus on the pressing matter first. She quickly posted some photos of delicious food in the homeowners group. Everyone is almost reduced to eating tree bark, but Zhang Yi is having sumptuous meals every day. Do you think that's fair? Seeing the message, Chen Zhenghao drooled all over the floor. This kid is hiding so many good things in his house. That's perfect. I can get my revenge for old grudges. Upon hearing this, the homeowners group exploded. Some people were trying to morally bind me, asking me to distribute my supplies to everyone. Some people, just for a meal, asked me to become a father to their child. There were even those who were willing to hand over billions in assets just to live in my house. Seeing the message, I just laughed. Why am I close with you? Why should I share my supplies with you? Thinking of these people breaking into my house in the past, I felt a fire in my belly. Now the tables have turned. I thought, let's see how I'll play with you this time. Seeing my reply, Bootlicker King and others looked dumbfounded. Is Zhang Yi not afraid that we will unite against him? Others, seeing my cold-heartedness, began to blame me in the group chat. If you hadn't secretly hoarded supplies, we wouldn't be living like this. You must atone for your sins and donate the supplies to everyone. Besides, what's the point of living alone? Young people should have the spirit of contribution, watching them bicker back and forth. I couldn't be bothered to engage with them any longer. Then, looking at the falling snow outside the window, I mumbled, staying at home every day is quite boring. It seems I should find some time to go out and stroll around. Luckily, I still have a few snowmobiles hidden in my pocket dimension. Once I deal with this group, it might be time to see what the outside world is like. Just then, my phone suddenly received a notification. It was a plea for help from Dr. Zhou Qirer. Mr. Zhang, our home's medicine and supplies have been completely exhausted. Upon seeing the message, I instantly recalled what Zhou Qirer looked like in my previous life. Her death was due to her giving her last food to Xiaoli Mei and her daughter. However, I didn't immediately agree to her plea, despite a good impression of her from the last life. The prettier the woman, the more dangerous. I don't want to die at the hands of a woman after barely getting another life. I wouldn't provide help without being completely sure of her trustworthiness. So, I responded, I can provide supplies, but you need to exchange something for them. Upon seeing the message, Zhou Ke immediately agreed to become my private medical assistant. If I still wouldn't agree, she could only sacrifice something else. But I did not agree to her terms, and instead I said, I can provide you with medicine and food, but you have to do me a favor. Those neighbors are about to collapse soon, and they will definitely take action. I need you to be my spy to acquire their action plans. So the choice is in your hands now. You can choose to follow the crowd and be a bystander, or you can choose to betray them and side with me. Upon seeing the message, Zhou Ke fell silent. If she chose me, she would have to face all the homeowners in the building with me. But what she didn't know was that my house had long been turned into an iron fortress by me. Even if they came with a tank, they couldn't break in. The reason I did this was just to find an excuse to test her. At this moment, Glasses Man sent me a final ultimatum. Zhang Yi, I'll ask you one more time. Will you hand over the supplies in your hand or not? Seeing the message, a cold smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. This guy had overstepped his bounds. I responded cheerfully. Even if I were to feed my food to the pigs, I wouldn't share a bit with you. This angered Glasses Man, grinding his teeth very well. Zhang Yi, you still dare to talk tough even when death is imminent. You brought this upon yourself. Don't say we didn't give you a chance. Soon, a chat group was established to denounce me. Qin Zhenghao solemnly said inside, Don't worry, everyone. For this operation to eliminate Zhang, I only need half of the supplies. After getting the supplies, I swear I won't harm anyone. Glasses Man also echoed, Let's put our past grudges aside for now. Our primary goal is to take down Zhang Yi at once. On the other side, after some consideration, Zhou Ke finally agreed to my terms. She was very clear in her heart that she, a woman alone, couldn't hold out for long without clinging to a strong figure in this apocalyptic world. Soon, I received a warning from Zhou Ke and Uncle Yu. Glasses Man and his gang have decided to launch a full attack at 2:30 tonight. To this, I was not panicked at all, but just curious about what kind of mess this group would make. At this point, Zhou Ke sent another message. Those people have gone crazy. Aren't you going to come up with a plan? But I just laughed at her message. I glanced at the guns laid next to me. All fear stems from inadequate firepower. I replied, You don't have to worry about all this. Remember not to follow along with their action. I'm only warning once. With that said, I picked up the gun in my hand. Just sit back and enjoy the show. At this moment, a group of people armed with weapons came marching towards my house. We must kill that shameless, selfish ghost, Zhang Yi this time. It was 2:30 in the morning, and soon after, the corridor at the entrance of my house was surrounded by Qin Zhenghao and his gang. Zhang Yi, come out. If you don't want to die, this is your last chance. I saw this scene from the surveillance and couldn't help laughing. I didn't bother being polite with them. I turned on the high-voltage device. Just as a few youngsters were about to break down the door, they were electrocuted into a charred state, emitting a puff of black smoke. Seeing this scene, the others were frightened and dumbfounded, and they wanted to escape. But as soon as they turned around, they were blocked by Qin Zhenghao and his gang. Qin Zhenghao pointed his gun at a person's head. If you dare to enter the battle, be prepared to die. Keep smashing the door. I don't believe this high-voltage electricity can last a year. Glasses Man, their strategist, immediately came forward to encourage them. Don't be afraid, everyone. We must avenge our fallen comrades. As long as we work together to break this iron door, what awaits us inside are a cozy fireplace and endless food. Encouraged by Glasses Man's words, the residents who originally wanted to leave were instantly filled with fighting spirit. They picked up a wooden stake and continuously smashed my door. For a bite of food, everyone was exerting all their strength. Listening to the rhythmic thudding coming from outside, I also became interested. So, I instantly retrieved a large speaker from another space. Seeing you all so hardworking, let me play a tune for you. Hearing the battle song, the neighbors seemed to be injected with a stimulant, hitting the door even harder. However, after half an hour of relentless beating, a few of them were panting and fell to the ground. What kind of door is this? We've been hitting it for so long, but only a tiny scratch was left. It seems we won't be able to break it open without years of effort. At this moment, Glasses Man, who works at a bank, stepped forward and immediately identified it as a bank vault-grade door. He said, Such a door can't be breached even by a tank, let alone wood. Hearing this, the others looked shocked. Ben, is there no way to open this steel door? Glasses Man sighed. Unless we can find the world's top locksmith, there's no chance to open it without the key. While he was explaining, I had already come to the door with my crossbow. So professional, I murmured and then shot an arrow. Seeing Glasses Man get shot, the other residents in the hallway panicked. Zhang Yi actually has weapons. Glasses Man and Chen Zhenghao didn't even tell us. Some of the slower neighbors were quickly turned into thieves by my arrows. Looking at the neighbors scattered around on the floor, I felt no guilt. If they want my life, there's no need for me to be polite. Just then, Glasses Man had an idea. Everyone, don't panic. I have a plan. Zhang Yi's steel door might be thick, but the wall is still made of cement bricks. I don't believe we can't break it down. Hearing this, the neighbors seemed to understand. We have so many people, we can definitely break his wall in less than half an hour. A few neighbors immediately mustered up their strength and started smashing the wall with vigor, while Glasses Man kept encouraging them. Sure enough, in a short while, cracks started appearing in the wall. Seeing this, a big man smashed the wall with even more force. But the next second, a metallic clang echoed. The impact numbed the man's arm. Glasses Man rushed forward and exclaimed, "Damn it! The wall is made of steel plates too." Hearing this, several big men looked shocked, who uses steel plates for wall construction. But they still didn't give up. They randomly hit different parts of the wall, hoping to find a weakness. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry to inform you that the outer walls of my house are reinforced with half a meter thick high-quality steel. Not to mention your hammers. Even if a cannonball came, I wouldn't be afraid. Soon, the neighbors realized that I must have known about the apocalypse in advance, which is why I built such a sturdy fortress. Glasses Man grew angrier the more he thought about it. He knew about the snow disaster all along. This selfish and narrow-minded person, only caring about himself, ignoring the lives of everyone else. Some people couldn't bear this despair and started to cry on the spot. At this moment, Chen Zhenghao stepped out from the crowd. "What are you crying for? His walls are made of fine steel. But does that mean the ceiling and the floor are too? We will split up and start tearing down the place." I refused to believe Zhang Yi could have built a tortoise shell. Hearing this, the neighbors were re-energized. They went up and down my house, hammering with all their might. Watching this on the surveillance, I chuckled. Chen Zhenghao has some brain power, but unfortunately, not much. After hammering for a while, they once again fell into despair. As it turns out, I did build my house into a reinforced tortoise shell without power tools. They would need to hammer for years without rest or sustenance to have any chance of breaking this fine steel wall. At the thought of this, the stomach of a neighbor who had not eaten for 2 days and wasted so much energy hammering started grumbling. He wanted nothing more than to eat a large piece of meat. Thinking of meat, an idea suddenly popped into his head. He looked at a neighbor beside him, and they both drooled at the thought. After realizing what the other was thinking, they awkwardly turned their heads away. Glasses Man, on the other hand, was in despair. Are we really going to wait for death in this apocalypse? That damn Zhang Yi is so cruel. Why can't he sacrifice himself for the good of everyone? Then, a bright idea from Glasses Man. I remember that Zhang Yi had floor-to-ceiling windows on his balcony when he renovated. Maybe we can break in from there. Hearing this, everyone's hopes were reignited. I refused to believe that Zhang Yi would seal his windows. With that, they got together and started moving towards my balcony using planks. Soon, they were outside my window yelling and threatening, "Zhang Yi, it's best if you open the door yourself. Once we break in, you'll regret it." Hearing this, I calmly sipped my coffee. "You think you're smart, huh? And who says glass has to be more fragile than metal?" As expected, after knocking for a while, they found no traces on the floor-to-ceiling windows and could only vent their frustrations helplessly outside. Of course, I wasn't going to let them off so easily. I leisurely walked to the kitchen and picked up a homemade Molotov cocktail. "Since it's so cold, I'll help you warm up a bit." With that, I placed the Molotov cocktail into a small window in the room. The next second, a hole appeared in the ceiling of the balcony. By the time they realized it was a Molotov cocktail, it was already too late. Soon, flames engulfed one of the neighbors. The intense burning sensation made him wail in agony. Before long, he could no longer bear the pain and jumped off the balcony. Seeing this, several neighbors finally felt regret, pressing against the glass, begging for mercy. "In your previous lives, you turned me into feces and never showed any remorse." Left with no choice, they had to return the way they came.